Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder on Weather here. Hope everyone out there is enjoying your weekend. We got a lot to cover as we're going to be detailing out our next storm system. Then an Arctic blast enters the picture by the end of the month, setting up a winter battle zone. So let's start off with the overall jet stream this morning. This will be coming up on the day on Tuesday. This is our next significant storm system. As you can see, this jet really dives and digs all the way down into West Texas. That'll be setting up an upper level low that's going to be coming across a good part of Texas with the chilly rain. But then we've got some severe storms going to be breaking out across the southeast and portions of the deep south. But it's all snow going to be flying across the Texas panhandle. That'll swing through portions of North Texas, getting into Oklahoma, through Arkansas there, into Missouri, back into the Ohio Valley, and eventually heading up into the mid-Atlantic. So as we go into this weekend, we're going to be talking about the polar vortex because it has been displaced back on January the 8th. And that cold air has been building up there in the Arctic, diving down there in Greenland. But by the time we get into this weekend, it's going to be really setting up across a good part of Canada with those dangerously cold temperatures, 20, 30, if not 40 degrees below zero. And you can see these negative numbers start to enter the picture into portions of Montana, into the Dakotas, where they're going to be struggling to even get above zero during the day on Saturday. So if you do like detailed weather breakdowns on North America, and if you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily content on this channel. It's also important to hit the like button as well. It definitely helps out more than you know. And then coming up on the day on Monday, I'm actually going to be doing a free giveaway of one of these Weatherflow Tempest weather stations. It's phenomenal. It's one of these weather stations I've actually had for about 3 years personally myself, and I love it. The good thing about this one, it's all solar and it only takes about 10 minutes to install, and it's got an app associated with it as well. There's lots of things you can do with it. You can actually tie it in with your irrigation system. I think it's the best one on the market. So we are going to be giving away one of these for free coming up on the day tomorrow on Monday. But if you would like to purchase one at a discount, I'll definitely have the link below so you can check it out. So let's take a look at the overall setup for today, because we're going to be dealing with some stronger storms down there in the Florida Panhandle. Well, they have been in the warm sectors. Some heavier rains are going to be breaking out across the Florida Panhandle and cross portions of the southeast, but then the snow is flying into portions of Indiana as well as Ohio here. In fact, the Weather Service actually just put out a mesoscale discussion for portions of Ohio with some heavier snows in the next couple of hours. Some of these regions could be picking up some 1 inch plus per hour snowfall rates, as some heavier snows will be lifting across and moving across in portions to the east. And as we extend the day on Monday, that snow will just continue to shift a little bit further east. I'm not expecting some heavier amounts with this, but still a couple of inches of snow going to be flying into these regions and portions of West Virginia, across portions of PA, getting into upstate New York, a little bit higher amounts as you head up into Vermont and New Hampshire and back into Maine. But you can also see where our next storm system on Monday will be diving down from the northwest. That'll be setting up the snows across portions of Arizona there, getting into Colorado. But then as we head into Monday, there's your temperatures, right? So there's not much Arctic air to deal with currently right now across the US, where you can start to see kind of the little bit of the colder air building up there in Canada with those negative numbers. But that's going to be changing in a big way as we head into this upcoming weekend for next weekend, and then especially as we head towards 7 to 10 days from now. But here's the setup from Tuesday. All right, so here's going to be your negatively tilted trough that's going to be really diving down from the northwest and really getting back into West Texas. It's going to be having a lift associated with it out ahead of it, and a chilly rain that's going to be breaking out across a good part of Texas. And we're going to have to be dealing with some severe storms, and that will be transferring to all snow into the morning hours, getting into the afternoon hours, as this will continue to shift from west to east. So let's look at the rainfall, because these areas are desperately needing the rain. It's been bone dry. We haven't had a system really setting up this far west, so that's a good thing. We are going to be seeing some decent welcome rains in a good part of Texas. These are your precipitation totals, anywhere from 1 to 1.5 inches across central Texas into North Texas. Further south, where they are a little bit warmer temperatures, you're going to be seeing some 2 to possibly 4 inch rains across the Houston Metroplex, east part of Texas, getting into Louisiana and portions of Mississippi. But notice the amounts are still pretty impressive as we enter portions of Oklahoma, as well as in Missouri, and especially into Arkansas there. But further to the south, that's where the severe storms are going to be. So if you live in the Houston Metroplex, down there in portions of Victoria area, but especially into New Orleans and places like into Mobile, into Jackson, you're going to have to be dealing with some severe storms, unfortunately, during the day on Tuesday. This is compounding what the heavier rains are going to be in that region for your Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday night time frame. But let's zoom in and really delve into this upper level low and take a look at the overall temperatures as we get into your Tuesday afternoon about 3 o'clock. I'm highlighting here because this is where the upper level low will be across a good part of West Texas, entering the Texas Panhandle, traversing across into West Texas. Notice the temperatures, right? We're about 34, 35, 36 degrees. So this is going to be a kind of a heavy, wet snow. I'm not looking at seeing these temperatures going to be below freezing. So that's the setup. It's going to be, some of these areas are going to be looking at a chilly rain and then transferring over to kind of a rain snow mix. But especially if you live in the Texas Panhandle and Amarillo, Lubbock, Wichita Falls, down to Abilene, it's all snow for you, and you could be picking up some pretty healthy totals, and some of these areas actually could be overperforming. But notice the sharp gradient of the temperatures further south, where they have to be dealing with those severe storms well into the 60s and into the warm sector, and this will be traversing across into portions of Oklahoma through Arkansas, and even those regions are not really expected to be below freezing with this particular setup. So here's the latest NAM with the setup. So I showed you the rain amounts, the precipitation amounts, and some of this could be transferring to snow. And with the heavy burst of snow, with the temperatures of 33, 34, 36 degrees, yeah, some of these be looking at kind of a rain snow mix and burst of heavy snows at times. So some of these areas could really outperform. And a lot of these regions, this is the 24-hour snowfall totals producing what the NAM is setting up across portions of the Texas Panhandle into West Texas. Notice the skirt across the northern side of North Texas, especially as we get into the Red River. But Oklahoma gets some heavier, decent amounts. But anywhere from central to northwestern parts of Arkansas swings through with the heavier snows, through Missouri, getting into southern portions of Illinois. Notice Tennessee and notice point southbound. You're going to be in the all rain side of this system and kind of missing out on the snow. Here's the latest European guidance. Has the kind of the traversing across into West Texas. So some of these areas are going to be picking up some pretty decent, if not some significant amounts, coming up on the day on Tuesday, heading into Wednesday morning. But again, at no time do I feel like the temperatures are actually going to be below freezing. So this is just kind of a heavier, wet snow out there, and some of these areas are going to be seeing accumulations, but most of the areas really won't be, with kind of melting on contact. But yeah, it'll be nice to see some snow in these areas as that transfers from that rain to snow mix. But especially as you head into Oklahoma, I mean, look at the temperatures by Wednesday morning. You're still 34, 35 degrees with the snow flying. So again, I'm not expecting the temperatures to be below freezing, but that snow will continue to shift up into the northeast. That'll swing across through the portions of the Ohio Valley. So there's your snow swath for that 24-hour time frame, through portions of Illinois, through Indiana, through Ohio, into Pennsylvania, northern parts of New Jersey here, and getting into upstate New York, and the western side portions of Massachusetts and the Connecticut there. But then a little bit heavier amounts points northbound, into Vermont and New Hampshire, then heading up into Maine. That'll be during that 24-hour time frame from that Wednesday to Thursday morning. But to the south of there, that's where the precipitation will be. So you got some decent, healthy totals. A lot of these areas into Texas and Oklahoma are experiencing drought conditions, and it's been bone dry in these areas. So this is definitely a good sign to see with the precipitation entering those areas. But yeah, further south in these red shaded zones between now and Friday morning, yeah, you could be looking at a good 2 to 4 inch swath of some pretty healthy totals down there in the deep south, coming across portions of Georgia, entering South Carolina, getting into portions of Virginia there. But then even some significant totals up here as well, up in the Northeast, where they have been dealing with, being in that warm sector for an extended period of time. You're going to be getting back into the rain sector across the I-95 corridor, back with 1 to 2 inch totals between now and Friday morning. But then there's the Arctic air. So this is heading towards this weekend as we start to see the southeast ridge. It's been alive and well for a good part of January, and I still think it remains alive and well, as even if we extend into early parts of next week. Notice the ridge really starting to build up there in Alaska with those well above average temperatures. I showed you the negative numbers entering the picture by the time we get into this weekend. There's the Arctic surge will be plunging southbound slowly, but that's the setup, guys. We're going to be setting up what they call a winter battle zone as we get deeper into next weekend, especially as we head towards the end of the month, where we could be looking at those clash in temperatures and maybe some icy setups further south. So here's the overall temperatures as we get into Saturday. So here's the Arctic air really building up there in Canada. Look at the negative numbers across Saskatchewan and to Manitoba there, into portions of Ontario. That'll rear its ugly head into Saturday morning into Montana with those negative numbers, almost 20 below zero up there in the Dakotas. These areas won't even get above zero during the day on Saturday. So that's definitely some very cold air will be slowly shifting southbound as it'll be fighting this southeast ridge every step of the way. So here's the setup on Saturday. Underneath that, you can see the freezing line, right? So it's going to be a sharp temperature gradient with those warmer above average temperatures further south, but then all snow flying in the cold sector coming up on the day on Saturday morning, back into Idaho, back into Montana, back into the Dakotas there, with some heavier snows entering back in the picture. But what's significant as we enter the day on Sunday, this will be next Sunday. So notice out west, it's been dry. You've had that 22-day deluge out there in California, and it's going to be dry for between now and really by the end of next weekend. But there are early signs as we have another significant trough that's going to be diving in down from the west. I think the rains come back for a good part of California as we head towards the end of the month and the beginning stages of February. Notice the southern jet stream dipping pretty far south. Look at that low pressure center too, well south of Mexico. That's significant as that Arctic air will continue to plunge southbound, fighting the southeast ridge every step of the way. Typically, that sets up kind of an overrunning setups, and we could be looking at some ice setting up further south as we get deeper into the end of the month, heading into maybe late next weekend. So if we kind of expand the view and take a look at some of these ensemble guidance as we head towards the 30th, right? Here's the latest European ensembles, right? So here's the southeast ridge that's going to be alive and well, and it continues to remain alive and well as that Arctic air will continue to plunge a little bit further south, especially as we enter next weekend, but especially as we enter towards the end of the month by the 30th time frame. That will be setting up a potential winter battle zone in these regions with maybe some snow and ice mix and maybe some icy setups as we get deeper towards the end of the month. Here's the latest GFS, has the colder air, entering the picture, pulling a little bit further south, going all the way down into deep Texas, has the southeast ridge not as prevalent. So these are your overall ensemble guidance from these global models. And here's the Canadian, probably the most bullish of them all, still has the southeast ridge. So this is all set up on the global models, but Arctic air will be plunging southbound, and there's going to be a winter battle zone further south in these regions where the separation of very, well above average temperatures and then well below, well below average temperatures plunging south as we get towards the end of the month. And the Climate Prediction Center has already been hinting at that, right? So they already have a moderate risk for very cold air across the 28th and the 31st time frame across the Dakotas, through Nebraska, and through Kansas. And then as we head towards the end of the month and those first couple of days of February, it has the coldest air plunging even further south. Arctic air this time back into Oklahoma, into Texas. That'll swing across portions of Missouri there. But notice here across the southeast and points eastbound, you're going to be in the warm sector. So yes, we are definitely going to be setting up a winter battle zone as we head towards the end of the month in those first couple of days of February. So, hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely hit the subscribe button and catch me in the next update. Why I protect you before and after the storm.